Okay, let's unpack this. You know that feeling when everything seems normal, just everyday life, and then suddenly something shifts. Something happens that you just can't explain, and it makes your skin crawl. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly those kinds of moments. We've got a collection of really chilling stories, accounts from people who went through something that left them terrified, confused.
And what's fascinating here, I think, is how these experiences, even though they're so personal, they really connect to fears we all have. You know, the fear of the unknown, feeling vulnerable, that sense of being watched.
Yeah.
Our sort of mission today is to look at how these situations develop. How does that unease turn into outright terror? And what kind of mark does it leave on someone?
Exactly. And the details in these stories, they're what make them stick with you. As we go through them, I really want you to think, what would you have done? How would you react if your sense of safety just evaporated? Okay, first up, we're heading to Minnesota, a remote cabin on Vilan Lake. Think deep woods, isolation. A group of high school juniors, their first trip away without parents.
Yeah, and remote really means remote here. It's on a big island. You need a boat to get there, half a mile from even a gravel road.
The cabin itself sounds pretty basic. 1 level, 2 bedrooms, kitchen, living area, and, importantly, no curtains on any of the windows.
And the person telling the story mentions this feeling before anything even happened, like a long-standing sense of being watched through those windows, which is quite ominous, isn't it? Sets the scene.
Definitely. So third night there, they'd had a campfire. Now they're out on the dock looking at the stars. Quiet. Then they hear a noise, like a fish jumping.
Natural sound for a lake, right?
Right. So they look out. And Ryan, one of the friends, spots something. He says it looked like just a head floating in the middle of the lake. Staring right at them.
Wow.
It's maybe, 3/4 of a football field away. But they can make out long black hair and really pale skin, like unnaturally pale. Not really a distinct face, more like a blob of pale skin with hair over it. The narrator says they just felt this immediate, paralyzing fear.
And that stillness,
Yeah.
something just floating and staring. It's inherently creepy, isn't it? Because it's not acting naturally, it's observing.
Yeah, and the brain immediately tries to make sense of it, right?
Right.
They talk themselves into thinking maybe it's a loon.
Which are common there. Dark and white birds, they dive and pop up.
But this thing wasn't moving at all. Just stiff as a board, they said, watching.
That rationalization starts to crumble pretty quickly then.
Yeah. So they go inside, try to ignore this deep unease. Later, the narrator needs to use the outdoor bathroom. They glance at the lake. It's still there, but closer now. Maybe 30 yards closer.
Oh, no.
And now they can make out a nose. Still that incredibly pale skin, like it hadn't seen sun in years. That's when the narrator says the very, very uneasy feeling really hit hard.
And this is where sharing the experience becomes so important. It's not just one person seeing something strange.
Exactly. They get the others. Everyone sees it. Still there. Still staring. Still not moving.
Yeah.
No ripples around it. They try to say, oh, maybe it's a log.
But they don't believe it. You wouldn't, would you? Not really. The fear is shared now. It's real for all of them.
Yeah. Eventually, whatever it is vanishes. So relief, kind of, but it's hot, no AC, windows are open. Middle of the night, the narrator hears footsteps
Outside.
on the deck, like boot heels, click down the wood.
Yeah.
Pacing back and forth right by the deck stairs for maybe 3 minutes.
Just pacing. That's almost worse than seeing something sometimes. It's deliberate.
Yeah.
Calculated.
Then they hear 2 quick steps up onto the deck, followed immediately by someone sprinting down the path into the woods.
Okay, that's terrifying. And then...
And then Ryan bursts out of his bedroom, totally freaked out. He saw it, peeking into his window, top right corner.
Saw what? The face.
He described one eye, pale white skin, and long black hair. And his conclusion was chilling. He said it was either 8 feet tall, maybe standing on something to look in, or it was floating.
Floating. Okay, that's...
So impossibly tall or defying gravity. They didn't stick around, grabbed their stuff, ran for the boat, got out of there. And they saw footprints around the cabin, leading off down that path into the woods.
So it was physical, footprints confirm that. Wow.
And the impact on Ryan. The narrator mentions he had trouble sleeping afterwards, needed help. Still can't sleep near an uncurtained window. That tells you how deep that fear went. The cabin owner even found lingering footprints later.
That buildup from unease to sighting to dismissal, then the closer sighting, the sounds, the final visual, it's a perfect storm of escalating terror.
Okay, let's shift gears. From that isolated wilderness fear to something maybe more insidious, hiding in plain sight. A childhood memory. This one's from 1986.
Settings can be deceptive, can't they? An ordinary place can hold extraordinary danger.
Totally. So the narrator is 7. It's Friday. Routine is walk in the park with Dad and the dog, Oscar. Quiet park, path, garden, a fenced playground near an old chapel, now an art school. Seems normal, right?
Completely normal.
She's on the swings, maybe 10 minutes go by. A car pulls into the driveway near the park, turns around, a gate squeaks open, and suddenly a woman is standing right behind her, smiling. But it's described as a close smile.
Unsettling.
Alarm bells should be ringing even if a kid can't quite place why.
Yeah, the narrator immediately felt something was off. The woman has no kids with her. Her car door is wide open, engine running. It's a burnt orange color, kind of distinctive.
All these little details that don't add up, the open door, running engine, suggest she doesn't plan to stay long or needs a quick getaway.
The woman asks, "Are you here alone?" Narrator says no, Dad and dog are here, points vaguely. The woman stretches her neck, looking around dramatically, then says, "I don't see them, sweetheart."
Ugh, that sweetheart. Right, makes the narrator cringe even now. Then she says, "Perhaps your daddy forgot about you and went home. If you're lost, I can take you to the police station." She takes a step closer. Her smile is wider now, but feels forced.
That's predatory language, trying to create doubt, isolate the child, offer a seemingly helpful solution that leads them away. Textbook grooming tactics, almost.
Just at that moment, Oscar the dog barks, and Dad calls the narrator's name. He's nearby. The woman's smile just drops. She turns, runs to her car, jumps in, and speeds off.
Thank goodness for the dog and the timing.
Seriously. The dad sees his daughter scared, sees the car leaving. He just shouts after her, fists clenched, knuckles white. The narrator remembers seeing anger and fear on his face. He scoops her up, carries her all the way home, doesn't really ask questions.
That parental instinct, he knew. He didn't need the details. He felt the danger.
But here's the really chilling part. 10 years later, they're walking in that same park. The narrator mentions the creepy lady, and the dad finally tells her what he saw as the car drove away.
What was?
There was a man in the back seat. The dad said, "He looked me square in the eyes and smiled." It was a horrid, spiteful smile. He knew right then they were trying to take her. And that smile, it was like the man was rubbing it in how close they came.
Oh my God, that adds a whole other layer of horror, the maliciousness of it.
Yeah. Dad was so shaken by the smile, he didn't even think to get the license plate. They moved away about a year later. Just shows you, danger isn't always in the dark woods. Sometimes it smiles right at you in the park. Okay, sticking with that theme of vulnerability, but back to a rural setting. This next one involves 2 young sisters and a clearly planned encounter.
Planned encounters are often the most terrifying because they imply surveillance, patience, intent.
Definitely. So the narrator is maybe 10 or 11, living with grandparents temporarily after her dad had an accident. Her younger sister is with her. Every morning they have to walk down this holler like a dirt road or path to the bus stop. And it's dark.
Yeah, that's immediately a vulnerable situation. Young kids alone, darkness, isolated path.
One morning, they get near the end of the holler. Suddenly, a black SUV just barrels in like a bat out of hell and slams on the brakes about 15 feet in front of them.
Oh!
It happened so fast, the narrator just freezes for a second, confused, hesitant to run because they'd been told off before for getting spooked by noises and missing the bus.
That split-second indecision, it's so common. You don't want to overreact, but...
But then the car door clicks open. That's the signal. She grabs her sister's hand. A man gets out, dressed all in black, wearing a ski mask.
Ski mask, okay, zero ambiguity there.
Walks around the front of the SUV and starts running towards them. Just then, they hear their school bus coming, maybe a few stops away.
The timing.
The narrator realizes it's too close. She literally scoops up her little sister and just sprints back up the holler towards home as fast as she can.
Yeah.
As they run, they hear the SUV screech away. The bus pulls up just as it leaves.
Wow, that was incredibly close.
And looking back as an adult, the narrator is certain. This was planned. That holler wasn't a main road. It was hidden. The timing was perfect, catching them right before the bus arrived. The ski mask. It was an abduction attempt, plain and simple.
Absolutely calculated. Which leads to that horrible lingering thought the narrator mentions.
Yeah. I often wonder how long he'd been watching us and learning our morning routine.
That's the chilling part, isn't it? The unseen observation beforehand. It creates this lasting sense of unease, makes you question everything.
All right, let's move from those kinds of external, almost primal threats to something different. An urban setting. A professional interaction that just curdles into something really disturbing.
Sometimes the horror isn't a sudden attack, but a slow burn, an erosion of safety and boundaries.
Exactly. The narrator worked in beauty and body treatments. A few years back, this male client came in. Right from the start, the staff thought he was a complete weirdo.
Red flags, you mean?
Yeah. He'd bring strange books, like about lucid dreaming. He'd strip down to just a towel for treatments where that was totally unnecessary. Little things that showed he didn't respect boundaries.
Testing the waters. Seeing what he could get away with. It's a pattern.
So time passes. Then last winter, he calls her out of the blue. Remembers personal details about who she barely recalled sharing. He apologizes for being rude in the past, which she doesn't even remember happening, and says he has a huge crush.
Alarm bells again, the fake apology, the sudden intimacy. It's manipulative.
For a few weeks, luckily, a coworker is always there. But then she ends up alone with him for treatments. He constantly tries to keep her talking, keep her in the room longer than needed, pries into her personal life, compliments her body, her looks, even after she tells him it's inappropriate. Says he can tell she works out.
Persistent boundary pushing.
And he's clearly high on something, saying the weirdest things. Just escalating creepiness.
This progression from odd to inappropriate and actively intrusive, it's a dangerous trajectory.
Then comes the breaking point. He shows up for an appointment wearing a full suit, which is weird in itself. During the treatment, he's complimenting her constantly, over and over. And then he starts talking about women being raped and murdered.
Oh, wow, okay.
Calling women horrible.
Yeah.
And laughing about it. The narrator says she was absolutely terrified, shaking. So scared she actually blanked out some of the details later.
That's a massive leap. From creepy compliments to violent ideation, that's a direct threat, essentially. The laughter just makes it worse, shows a total lack of empathy. How do you even respond in that moment, trapped in a room with someone like that?
She manages to finish the treatment and immediately calls him a cab, way earlier than he would have expected. He's getting ready to leave, and he looks at her and says, "I find it adorable that you're so vulnerable."
Chilling. Absolutely chilling. That's not just creepy, that's predatory insight. He sees her fear, and he likes it.
She says she almost burst into tears right there. Her heart was pounding. He gives her this coldest look and a slight smirk. Then he says, "Oh, I forgot something," back in the treatment room, and he just waits, expecting her to go get it for him.
The classic isolation attempt. A trap.
She knew it. She grabbed a pair of scissors she kept nearby, clutched them, and refused to go back into the room. She made him wait for the cab outside.
Good for her, trusting that instinct, calling the cab early, refusing to be isolated. That probably averted something much worse.
She thinks so too. As soon as he left, she ran to her car, just crying. He called her phone repeatedly afterwards. Her boss banned him from the place, thankfully. But that comment, "Adorable that you're so vulnerable," that sticks with you.
It really does. It highlights how crucial it is to recognize those escalating signs and trust your gut, even in a professional setting where you feel obligated to be polite.
Okay, one last story. This one takes us back to a rural setting, but with a very different kind of unsettling figure. An idyllic family apple orchard, mountainside, woods, pond. Sounds lovely.
Picture perfect, almost. Which again makes the intrusion more jarring.
The narrator's mom is riding her horse on one of the paths. She sees someone up ahead, kind of hunched over figure shuffling along the trees. Her first thought is it's this guy, John Boy, who worked there sometimes, a bit eccentric, but harmless.
An easy mistake to make, assuming familiarity.
But then she remembers, wait, John Boy's away this weekend. And she gets closer. The figure steps out onto the path. It's a young man. His face is covered with rags, he's bare-chested, and his skin, pale skin, is covered in scratches and sores.
Okay, that's immediately alarming.
And he's dragging an axe. He also has a duffel bag tied around his waist with rope.
Axe, rags, scratches. This is not good.
She yells out, "Are you all right?" He just makes these faint grumbling sounds. She asks his name. He mumbles something like, "Dad in woods." Dad, clearer. "Dad always liked animals, happy with animals, now better."
That is deeply disturbing, incoherent and menacing.
And then he lets out this animalistic scream, this gut-all yell. The mom, obviously terrified, turns the horse and bolts back to her great-aunt and uncle's house nearby.
Smart move. No point engaging further.
Her great-uncle, described as bold guy, hears the story, gets in his truck, and drives out to find the man. He confronts him, asks if he's lost, gets more grumbling about dad in woods, happy with animals, now better. The great-uncle clearly spooked himself now, but trying to de-escalate, just tells him the way to the main road and gets out of there.
Probably wise. Confrontation could have gone very badly. Directing him away might have been the safest option.
They called the police. The police search the area. They don't find a body. thankfully. But they find multiple places where small animals, hares and skunks, have been hacked to bits and half-eaten.
Oh, wow. Okay. That explains the scratches, the acts, the disturbing comments about animals. It paints an even darker picture.
Yeah. So the immediate threat seemed disturbed, but perhaps not directly aimed at humans. But the animal stuff is horrifying.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, right? Because there's an explanation, but it doesn't make the encounter less scary.
Exactly. About a week later, the local paper has a story. A mentally disturbed young man was found wandering on a highway. He'd been missing from a halfway house for 3 months, had stopped taking his medication. It was him.
So the horror has a source, a tragic one in a way, mental health crisis. But for the people who encountered him, especially the mom, the terror was absolutely real. The acts, the screams, the incoherent threats, and then finding the animal remains. It's a potent mix of fear and profound unease.
So when you put all these stories together, the cabin, the park, the holler, the treatment room, the orchard, what's the common element? For me, it's that sudden rip in the fabric of normal life. That moment where safety just vanishes.
Absolutely. It's vulnerability, and it's how quickly the mundane can become terrifying. But it's also about instinct, isn't it? That gut feeling. The narrator in the park feeling uneasy before the woman spoke. The narrator in the cabin feeling watched. The therapist recognizing the danger in that client's words.
Yeah, that initial something's not right feeling. It's powerful. Like in the cabin story, they tried to rationalize the head in the water as a loon, then a log.
But their gut knew better. And that internal conflict is part of the terror, too. Sometimes that instinct is the first and maybe the most important line of defense we have. It often sees the pattern before our logical brain pieces it together.
It makes you think, doesn't it? As you go through your day, how tuned in are you to those feelings? When something feels off, do you dismiss it or do you listen? These stories are extreme, obviously, but they're reminders of that thin line.
They really are. They remind us how quickly reality can shift and how resilient people can be in the face of truly terrifying experiences. But those echoes, they can last a long time.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into some truly unsettling territory. Lots to think about there.
Definitely. Thanks for listening.